HLS live streaming, you can have the Hilo, and as long as it's on the same Wi-Fi network as the mobile device you want to use, you can fire up a piece of software like VLC on the iOS device, type in the IP address of the Hilo, and start streaming directly to it. So you don't need to go up to a CDN and back down. You can stream directly to the device as long as everyone's on the same network. So that's a pretty cool feature, I think, for education, other markets maybe where the Hilo hasn't gained as much traction. So Kona 1 is a new Kona card here at the show. It's a 3G SDI I/O card, a simple but really effective and powerful card. It supports up to 2K, 60p, has a 3G SDI input, a 3G SDI output. Because of that, you can monitor while you're recording, while you're capturing. Has all of the desktop software support that our Kona line is famous for. Has Genlock input, has machine control, and our very generous international warranties as well. So Kona 1 has just incredible application compatibility across all of the major NLEs, across color correction, across streaming, play out. The list is just huge. And Kona 1 shares that application compatibility with all of our other Kona cards. Very affordable, $595. Comes in a low profile version for servers, and we think this is going to be a very popular card. We have a second new Kona here at the show, and this is kind of different for us. This is called the Kona HDMI, and it's a 4-channel HDMI card. I'll talk a bit more about its unique capabilities. So it has 4 full-size HDMI inputs. It's a capture-only card. 4 channels can be up to 2K 60p, or you can use port 1, which is an HDMI 2.0 HDMI interface, and that you can capture 4K up to 60p over that input. You can get up to 8 channels of audio, embedded audio per input, and really it's designed for streaming and switching applications, which I'll talk more about in a moment. Also has application compatibility with our with video for Linux, and as well as our own SDK, so developers can create interesting things around Kona HDMI. So it's 4 channels of HDMI capture on one card. So really perfect for live streaming and switching with applications like Wirecast or vMix. So you can just take in 4 inputs and start streaming and switching in software using the Kona HDMI card. Pretty cool. A unique feature of it is the single channel 4K capture. So on one card you can either have the 4 channels or the single channel of capture. We have our free HA control room application that customers can download and capture on Mac or Windows to really any file format, and then use that file. They could use it in NLEs, they could use it in color correction, they could use it anywhere they want. So really a lot of flexibility in this card. The video for Linux, the V4L2 compatibility opens up compatibility with Open Broadcaster, a very popular piece of streaming and switching software, FFmpeg, VLC, Skype, the list goes on and on. So really very, very flexible multi-platform card. With new MacBook Pros and iMac Pros, you could use a Thunderbolt chassis and still get the same performance of having 4 channels in or 4K. So sort of example end user workflows for the Kona HDMI. A new feature, which I'll talk a little bit more about, we can capture 4K HDR directly from PlayStation 4 Pros. We've been working with Sony on that for game developers who are looking for a way to do high quality captures of their gameplay. Esports and sort of live events where you can have multiple cameras and maybe the presenter display or the gaming system output all coming into the card, and you can switch between them. So really very flexible. This is kind of an example workflow of the esports application where you could have 2 players. So you have a camera on the player and you have the feed off of their PlayStation, for example, all going into the card. So you have 1 camera and 1 gaming output per, 2 players and 2 games going into the card, and you can switch between them. So really quite flexible. So Kona HDMI is $895. Will be available in June. Priced, the closest competitor is a company out of China. They have 4-channel cards, but nowhere near the capability of this. They don't have the 4K capability, and also it's not built to AJA quality on our warranty. So really, we think this is going to be a very strong card in the Pro AV market and the markets that I talked about. To support these new Kona cards, we have new desktop firmware, so desktop 14.2, which brings some very significant new features, support for those new Konas, obviously. We have HDR capture out of the IO 4K Plus and the Kona HDMI. We have new 10 gig E support for the DNX IP and the IO IP, which we introduced at IBC. New SMPTE 2110 support for the Kona IP and new audio capabilities as well, and I'll talk about a few of these. So the 4K HDR game capture from the PlayStation 4 Pro is very significant, and we have a number of game developing companies that we have been talking to about this, and they're very excited because there really aren't any other viable, reliable ways to do this directly out of the unit. So, and that works on our IO 4K Plus and the new Kona HDMI, which both have HDMI 2.0 inputs. And the SMPTE 2110 support on the Kona IP is very significant. Of course, 2110 is going to be the talk of this NAB, and really that's where a lot of the industry is moving in terms of IP video. This adds to the Kona IP's already significant SMPTE 2022 6 and 7 support, and also we have an optional JPEG 2000 workflow for the card. So really this card has quite a bit of capability now. We're showing the 2110 workflow on our stand with Arista and Tektronix gear, going to a new mini converter, which I'm going to talk about. So very flexible, and we have it running if you want to come take a look. The last feature of Desktop 14.2 is new audio support. So on the IO 4K Plus and the IO IP and the Avid versions of those two, there is a DB25 connector for audio, and that can now be configured to be either an input or an output, or 4 and 4, and you just buy the right cable. So it's a software toggle to be able to change the audio capabilities. So Desktop 14.2 for Kona, IO, and our TTAP products will be available next month. So broadcast IP is an area where we've been strong for quite a while. Kona IP was really one of the first cards to hit the market and lead the way with IP video. The new 2110 support really solidifies that. We also have a range of IP mini converters to do JPEG 2000 workflows over 1 gig E. We have input and output on SDI and HDMI. And here at the show we're introducing a new converter called the IPR10G HDMI. And it is a SMPTE 2110 HDMI receiver. So its function in life is to convert 2110 IP video to baseband HDMI and output it to any compatible HDMI device. New is it has a 10 gig E interface, network interface on SFP. Will support up to 8 channels of embedded audio on HDMI. Simple to control over the LAN, has an embedded web server. Uses our regular mini converter power supply, there's bajillions of them around the world. I think that actually might be the number. And comes with our 5-year warranty. So really it's pretty simple. IP video in, HDMI out. There's an analog audio breakout for local speakers. Have the LAN port for control and 10 gig E. And the control is very easy. Just over a standard LAN, it serves up a web page, and you get full control anywhere across the LAN. So very simple setup. If you had a 2110 network and you needed HDMI monitoring, you could put as many of these around the network as you wanted. So really for a facility that's building out 2110 capability, every room could have one of these to be able to break out that essence to HDMI and monitor it anywhere and be able to control it from a centralized, all of them from a centralized location as well. So this new mini converter is just under $1,300, and we will be available this June. We are showing it in our booth with that 2110 workflow that I mentioned. And our IP video stuff is all around the show in partner booths. There's the IP Video Showcase that you may know about, where a bunch of vendors are coming together to show their interoperability around 2110. We're part of that with the Kona IP and this new mini converter. Our stuff is also around the show, including the IO IP and a bunch of partner booths. So really a lot going on in IP video for AJA. The next thing is Keeper Ultra Plus, which is our multi-channel HD recorder and 4K player recorder that records to ProRes and DNX codecs. We have a new version 3.0 update here at the show that introduces HDR capture via HDMI 2.0. It supports HDR and HDR10 Plus, and so it records that metadata in the ProRes file. And so great way to archive and great way to play back HDR material if you want. It had HDR playback capability introduced about 6 months ago. So this adds to that and really completes the HDR workflow around the Keeper Ultra Plus. Another significant new feature is new DNxHR support on the Keeper Ultra Plus and its little brother, the Keeper Ultra. You can do a single channel of up to 4K 30p capture in DNxHR with MXF wrapper support on both DNxHD and DNxHR. So really quite a huge range of codecs available to the customers, basically the full range of ProRes codecs and now Avid as well. Another bit of news, our FS4 and FSHDR frame syncs have been very popular. They have 4 SFP cages in the back to be able to expand the connectivity with either 12G, 6G, 3G, fiber, CWDM fiber. We have new options for multi-mode fiber, and we have 12G single channel fiber as well. So we're just sort of fleshing that out, and all of that's available from AJA through our channel. So let's talk about FSHDR. FSHDR we introduced as a tech preview at last NAB in partnership with our good friends at Colorfront. And it's really a remarkable box. We shipped it soon after, and it's been really an incredible product for us, showing up all over the industry for people that want to do HDR conversions. So really the function of the box is to take in SDR or HDR and take in a number of camera log formats as well. And you can do real-time, very high quality, on-the-fly conversions using the Colorfront engine that's built into the box to output SDR or different types of HDR or even log. And so really you can any of those formats to any of those output formats. On top of that, it has AJA hardware conversion for frame rate and raster size as well. So really very complicated box, very easy to use. We've had some great customer wins. The first one out of Italy, a truck company called Beta Media that has a stack of them there in their new 4K truck, and they had great things to say about how FSHDR really helps them with the various types of connectivity and signaling that's coming into the truck, and they don't have to worry about it. Another big win for us was with our friends at Mobile TV Group, who, as you can see, bought another stack of FSHDRs for their new 4K truck. And I like the quote, I find it amazing how much AJA can cram into one rack unit. It is pretty impressive. There's a lot going on in this box. So really some great wins for FSHDR. FSHDR also enables a new workflow, which we're calling the single master workflow. So instead of even rolling up 2 trucks to an event where you have to do simultaneous delivery in HDR, SDR, you can now put FSHDR around that truck in strategic locations to be able to do multi-format and SDR and HDR delivery without affecting the production chain. So you can have a mix of HDR and SDR cameras, you can have a mix of graphics, you can have a mix of replay, and deliver however you want. So this has been really, that single master workflow has been really popular with broadcasters, and the adoption is still growing with FSHDR. So really that single master workflow has several benefits. Of course, you can control your production costs because you're lessening the amount of gear that you need to roll out to a show. It's very easy to match different HDR cameras. Some of the newer HDR cameras have the ability to output both HDR and SDR, but sometimes those don't match, so you need extra shading to be able to bring those together. FSHDR helps solve that with the consistency and beautiful look of the Colorfront engine. You also have a single set of graphics needed, so you don't need to generate two types of graphics. FSHDR can help the conversion back and forth. So it really solves a lot of problems for broadcasters. We have new firmware, 2.5 firmware, very significant here at the show. I'm going to walk through each one of these, but we have a range of new features available to our customers. The first is simultaneous 2K and HD output. So the box can take in 4K or HD or SDR or HDR and flip them around. So if you have, for example, a 4K input that can be either HDR or SDR, and the same on the output, what was a simple monitoring output before has now been beefed up via firmware to be a delivery spigot. So that can be a different HDR format, it can be a different frame rate, and it can be a different raster than what is being delivered out of the main outputs of the box. So we're just sort of suddenly enabling a new output spigot for our customers. The HDMI output now has the HDR info frame information, so it'll properly trigger external HDR monitors. And so ColorFront engine, that's really the core of FSHDR, has a number of HLG modes, very sophisticated, being able to convert anything back and forth to and from HLG, which is a very popular HDR format. Some broadcasters are looking for a very specific look that's part of these new BBC LUTs. BBC has come out with some HLG LUTs that have the ability to convert from HLG back and forth. And that's again for certain customers that are looking for a specific set of conversion criteria. And we have new support for external hardware controller, the tangent element panel, which is just a little unit with knobs on it. We have an application that customers can download for free that talks to the tangent box and FSHDR and allows control with external hardware. So really significant stuff. Now there's some stuff I didn't even get into, like new HDR test patterns. There's other features in 2.5 that are very significant, and this is for free for our customers. That'll be available in June. So really we're quite excited about FSHDR. We have a tech preview of a new device called the HDR Image Analyzer. This is new at the show, and we can't seem to get enough of our friends at ColorFront. We just keep making stuff with them. So this is the newest partnership between ColorFront and AJA. Its purpose in life is to be a waveform histogram vectorscope monitoring tool for HDR workflows. It'll support up to 4K 60p and has very sophisticated tools for live production, post-production, QC, mastering. Really, you put this in your HDR pipeline and make sure that you're delivering what you need to deliver to engineering. Built around very sophisticated tools from ColorFront. These are a subset of the tools that are very popular in their on-screen dailies and transcoder products, pulled out and put in this device with very powerful tools, very powerful test tools. In fact, so powerful, I still need to learn a lot about it. Combined with hardware from AJA, that'll deliver up to 4K 60p over 3G SDI in a very easy and compact 1RU form factor. Really, so customers just need to get a monitor and a keyboard and mouse and start working. It's very, very cool. I'd like to have our friend Mark from ColorFront come up and say a few words.
So my name is Mark Jasbery. I'm CEO and founder of ColorFront, and we're excited and thankful for the opportunity to be working together with AJA again. The FSHDR product has been wonderful for the last year, collaborating and creating this tool for conversion between the color formats, SDR and HDR, and all the various formats. And what could be even better than just creating the pictures is also monitoring them and understanding what the pictures do. So for that effect, we have this tool set for HDR image analysis. We have been working on for a few years now, and it's part of all of our tools. And we are delighted that AJ is bringing it on as a standalone tool. So it's not only for engineers, but creatives working on such as colorists, editors, cinematographers, broadcasters. They have an ability to understand the picture, the color, the HDR, the contrast, the various intuitive things that they see in the picture. They have now a tool with the EJ and the image analyzer to see that. So looking forward to seeing it in the market, and it helps to complement FSHDR and all the HDR tools. Thank you.
We have a new solutions page. We have ones already up on our website for Thunderbolt and HDR. We have a new one for 12G SDI, sort of a what is SDI and why does 12G matter to me. Really a lot of very good information there. And we are located where we've been for a number of years now, the front part of the South Lower, booth SL2505. We have a beautiful new booth built from the ground up. All of our products on display, lots and lots of live demos, really quite a bit going on. If you can, come by and take a look. So a summation of our product news. We have our new Open Gear cards with the dashboard software support, the new 12G Kumo routers, the two Kona cards, the Kona 1, which is the entry-level SDI card, and the Kona HDMI, which is the unique 4-channel HDMI card, the new desktop software to support those products and introduce new features like 2110 to the Kona IP, the new IP mini converter for SMPTE 2110, KeyPro firmware with DNxHR and HDR capture, the powerful new 2.5 firmware for FSHDR, and the HDR image analyzer. So I think that's our news. We will be talking about some other stuff during the course of the show, so if you want to follow us on social media, that's where we're at on the major platforms. And really, thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it. And let's go get them. Thanks.